guys, it's Mark with Hawkeye Ordnance. I'm here with Adam Maxwell from P3 Multigun, and we are at the Blue Ridge Mountain 3-gun in Kentucky. So what you're looking at here is Thunder Valley, which is where most of the heavy long-range shooting happens. And what's very unique to this match is that there's an awful lot of gunslinging going on. And this is brand new for me. This is your third year doing this one?
Yep.
So Adam's got a little more experience with the slings that I had a lot to learn real quick, and most of this can be checked out at home, but sort of the key components are a decent way to attach your sling to your gun, your sling itself, and then there's some things to think about around obstructions on your belt and that kind of stuff. So Adam's rocking his rifle right here. Tell us a little bit about how you're set up for slinging, and we'll go from there.
All right, well, I think the first part we should touch on that actually came up yesterday with a guy in our squad is you want to stay away from single-point slings.
Yeah.
In our particular application for that. I mean, there's lots of good uses for a single-point sling, and none of them have anything to do with 3-gun.
Mm-hmm.
So more often than not, you're going to want a some sort of 2-point sling.
Right.
And when you start to look at 2-point slings, what you want to do is you want to try it and attach it as far towards the extremities of your gun as possible. That's going to give you the most room to work as far as being able to shoot in the sling, and it's also going to hold the sling tighter to your body when you start running around.
Yeah. Now I was getting set up for this, and the only thing I was concerned with when I was setting up was getting the guns so I could get them really tight to my body, because there's a lot of running around at this match, right? Mm-hmm. And then yesterday we stepped out to this kind of skills thing we had to do, and you really had to shoot off the sling. Mm-hmm. And my sling was too short for my long loose stock. Mm-hmm. And so when I went to pull it up, it was like, I was really choked in the thing. Yeah. So it was kind of a pain. So I learned a lesson there for sure.
The loose stock is a good example, and it's not exclusive to them. There are a ton of stocks where they have the attachment point up towards the castle nut.
That's right. Yeah.
And the same thing, guys will have their guns attached up here, closer to the midsection of their rifle, and that just I'm sure there's advantages to that, but I've always found that it just holds the gun in an awkward position for me, and especially when you throw it over your back.
Yeah.
Now it's not. Then it really starts to wander around.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So at this match, they're slinging off the rifle and slinging off the shotgun, but all the principles are the same. Now, what we did find is it's pretty rare to shoot, I think, from the sling with the shotgun. You're really just using it as a breakaway to get the gun off, right? Or are you shooting off yours?
I've kind of come full circle on that. The initial, slinging seems like a simple thing. Right. It's a strap really for most of us that come from hunting. And the less you try to fight it, I think the more successful you will be. It's not something you're not going to gain time on anybody having really good sling techniques, right. But slings can certainly cost you time.
Yeah, I get that.
In the form, if you're fighting around with them or like you say, getting out of them. I used to be that was my thing. As soon as I could get out of the sling, I would. But then you got this big strap hanging around, and I have there's video from last year. You can see where I got out of the sling, and it snagged a barricade, and it hooked my rifle to 179 degrees, and thankfully Brian Ray let me keep going, but he would have been within his rights to DQ me. And that situation was 100% created by me getting out of my sling.
All right, so let's just move on just a little bit. So this isn't one of those 30-minuters, which we're kind of famous for. But okay, so we both chose the Viking tactical sling, right? And that was basically Adam telling me this is the sling, and the reason for that is, and you'll see he's got a tag on his, and I've got one on mine. But what you want to do is be able to get out of the thing really fast, and then you can cinch back in real quick. And Magpul's got their own version of this, and it works, fine too. But this seems to be what, from walking around, I'm seeing most guys using this sling.
And I think the MS4 was really developed in reaction to the popularity of the Viking sling.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. For somebody who's never used it before, I found it really intuitive and really easy to set up. One recommendation is don't cut your slings too short. I did, and yeah, well, it is what it is. So that's something that would have saved me yesterday to have 6 inches of material left there. Would have been a game changer for me over on that stage over there. So it is what it is. But the other thing to really keep in mind is you are going to be dealing with all this stuff on your belt plus the sling. Mm-hmm. So tell me how you're kind of addressing that.
Well, the key to that, a lot of these slings are designed for these to be primary weapons, for for military or law enforcement use, where you're going to be using the rifle first,
Right.
and it's going to retain your rifle when you need to go to a pistol.
Right.
We kind of use it the inverse way when we do it for 3-gun, because generally speaking, we're going to have this like slung up for later.
Yeah.
We're going to do a bunch of stuff first, and then we got to get to this thing. Yep. So part of what comes into play is how are you actually gonna carry it on your back?
Sure.
And I've kind of arrived at this, with the muzzle up and the sling going over my dominant shoulder.
Sure.
And underneath my support armpit, and then we come out. I didn't invent this technique. I just learned it watching people who are smarter than me.
Right.
When key to note is at these matches where slings are allowed, generally the gun is not considered loaded. 180 doesn't come into play until you actually start to try load the rifle. Once you start handling ammunition devices, that's when they start to get excited about where the muzzle goes.
Yep. So it's a stick for all practical purposes until you are in control of the gun and ready to load.
Yeah. Once you initiate the loading process, that's when they start watching where your muzzle goes.
Right.
So what a lot of people do, a lot of people who are pretty successful, they'll grab their slack tensioner, they'll get the gun some slack, and then they will pull the buttstock out from behind them, and then they'll sling the rifle around that way.
Yep.
In the past, especially with shotguns, when it's long enough you can grab it, you can also come over the shoulder.
Yep.
You
get out
that
as well.
way.
Having said that, though, you want to check your sling for a couple different things. Yesterday, and I'll show some video of this. We had to fast rope out of a second-story loft, and in that case, when I went to sling my rifle back up, I slung it down so I could get it around all those clearances and then come down with it. And at that point, you were done with the gun anyway, so it was just a matter of getting it out of the way. So I'm looking at him kind of, at least for me, stage by stage as to what makes the most sense. He's got a much shorter gun than I do too, so he doesn't have to worry about quite as much stuff going on.
The other thing to think about that comes up with pointing muzzle down is you notice how far it sticks down into the ground. If you were to go into a kneeling position or something like that, you start thinking about plugging your barrel with mud.
No, and I wouldn't run my shotgun like this. I was just so we had the two different looks. But so now with the shotgun, there's a couple of ways to handle this. The rifle, there's a ton of good options out on the market for slinging up the gun, attachment points and stuff. I went with the Shooter Source sling system this time. Shootersource.com. It was like 20 some bucks or whatever. I actually won this on a table, and I think I was the most excited about this prize than I was of all the other crap that was in that awesome bundle I got at your match at Kirkwold. And basically what he's got here is a little mount that slides in between your extension tube and your forend, and that's QD right there. And then it comes with a little nut you just drill into the back right here, and that's QD as well. And that very quickly and very easily turns your gun. Now the other option would be if you used a clamp up front, you could like the Nordic clamp has got room for a QD attachment on it as well. And that would give you a much longer breadth on the gun than this. So you have to kind of decide what you want. I don't, for whatever reason, when I shoot with a clamp on, my point of impact changes, and I know, and I don't know if it's probably all in my head, and I admit that, but it is what it is. So that's kind of the deal. Not much to it. We'll try to show some video and some stills. The guys running with some slings and all that good stuff. Adam, any other last comments you want to bring up?
Nope. I mean, as far as mounting it on a rifle, some of there's a lot of accessories out there for rifles and whatnot, and if going to some of these matches where slings are involved, stocks and handguards like the Midwest Industries one that have those integrated into them.
That's nice.
That starts to become big value, because then that's not $20 and $30 parts that you have to buy later.
Something to consider.
And it's not added bulk. So
absolutely.
So with a little bit of thought, it can be a pretty streamlined process.
Cool, and it's a damn good time. Slinging at matches, it's fun, and frankly, you feel cool making a full run with a nice rifle on your back and a shotgun in your hands, and
definitely adds a different flavor
to
the match, and changes the tempo too, because there's not as much staging of guns along the way.
It's very
you're all loaded up at the buzzer, and then you just kind of shed stuff as you go.
Yeah, go in if you don't know what Blue Ridge is, go search Blue Ridge Mountain 3 Gun and check out. You'll find a bunch of videos of people. It's as outlaw gets, really. And,
it's very Kentucky.
It is a lot of damn fun. And check out shootersource.com for the QD stuff. They've got some other options there as well. Midwest Industries Rails, that's one of Adam's sponsors. And check out P3 Multigun. And you've been doing a bunch of great writing lately, so check that out.
Yep, and it's getting cold up north, so there's going to be more.
There's going to be a lot more. And, of course, Hawkeye Ordnance and all of our good stuff. So thank you all so much, and God bless.